I'd say that's ready to go. Yep, he's ready to go out the door. For weather and more. Probably more than weather today. I gotta catch a ferry and go to a celebration of life on Cape Cod. Celebrating Mother Nature's air conditioning effect on Nantucket. It's so windy down here, but at least the wind is coming off 70-degree water, and the high temperature here yesterday was 74. What was it at your house? The first thing that stood out to me was 96 in Caribou, Maine. And it turns out that just was a record-tying 96 degrees. June 19, 2020. It's the hottest June 19th in 4 years. But you can see, before like the 70s or 80s, it was high temperatures were in the 80s 40 years ago. So things have changed. Yeah, it's definitely getting warmer. And Boston, fickle yesterday. It was in the low 90s with the wind from the southwest. Then all of a sudden the wind came in from the west at 4 o'clock. The temperature jumped up to close to 98 degrees, setting a record, beating the old record of 95 degrees. And we'll probably do that again today, depending on where the thunderstorms go. The radar this morning showed a little cluster of thunderstorms over New York. And I want to show the 7 o'clock temperatures. It was 81 degrees in Augusta, Maine this morning, an hour after the sun came up on the day of the summer solstice. The highest sun of the season is today. And it's going to be the highest temperature of the week in some spots. Places like Augusta may get close to 100 degrees, depending on the placement of the thunderstorm activity. Here's the NAM is just out to lunch. Don't even bother looking at that. The HRRR seems to have a handle on showers and storms increasing in intensity. Very small, but perhaps severe storms isolated in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And then that squall line wants to come south into southern New England after the sun goes down. You get to 3, 4Z. Now you're talking 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Could be some thunderstorms coming down toward the Massachusetts Turnpike. And that is the beginning of the cooling off of our heat wave. Today, day 3, making it a heat wave of 90 plus. It's actually 95 plus in a lot of spots. And then it's a really tough call. The HRRR has another low kind of going by us after tomorrow, another round of thunderstorms. Then on Saturday, a low may go across central and northern New England. That'll pull the warm to hot air right back in here. So I don't think this heat is going far. It's kind of a backdoor front with the wind coming in from the northeast. So just a sort of low-level cooling of the atmosphere, not a wholesale change to the atmosphere. I don't have much time today, so I'm not going to go to an in-depth weather forecast. I actually didn't even look at most of the products except for the storm products and the hurricane products. Get to that in a second. So the Boston 3 to 5 day, the red line is the temperature, the blue line is the dew point. There are your scattered thunderstorms, and note they come down a bit. Probably the next 36 hours, I haven't even seen this, and then go back up late in the period. May end up with more hot weather. I think there's going to be a nice cool front coming in about next Tuesday or so, that'll last Tuesday, Wednesday, but then the end of next week could actually turn hot again. As for the Hurricane Center, they've changed that Bahamas situation from a yellow to an orange, means now that hash east of Florida, moving toward Florida and South Carolina, may become Tropical Storm Beryl. What about Alberto? Yes, the first named storm of the year came into Mexico, hundreds of miles south of Texas yesterday, but it had such a broad circulation with the wind fetch and the rain fetch coming all the way out of the southern Caribbean through the Yucatan Channel and into the coast of Texas. An amazing broad wind field, and look what happened in Surfside, Texas. That's a coastal community, yeah, with surf, all right. North of Corpus Christi, south of Houston. Hundreds of miles north of the post on X by Jonathan Petramala. Great follow. Just amazing. He's down there covering the flooding. You got to follow Jonathan for the latest on what's happening in Texas. And there may be another system developing in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, so there could be a double whammy. I think the next named system is Chris, the sea storm, so it's off to the races in the tropics. Here on Nantucket, only 74 degrees yesterday, but so windy. The wind has been out of the west-southwest, more southwest, at 15 to 20 sustained just all the time, right here in the island, a couple of miles away from the shore. Well, the south shore, the southwest wind. So gusty. Anyhow, we went out to the links late in the day yesterday, earlier in the day, down to a little beautiful land-banked beach here. I was looking at the critters and the horseshoe crabs. And oh yeah, speaking of the links, Captain Donald Peacock of the Lynx and his crew, now moored out in the harbor for the summer. You can come on down and do your sunset cruises with him pretty soon. A lot of educational tours going on. Anyhow, his son Alex Peacock is the captain of the Bowden, main maritime vessel going past the Arctic Circle yesterday, passing Nuuk, Greenland, into the Arctic Circle for summer solstice, headed up toward from Davis Strait to Baffin Bay, where the sun is not going down today, or tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day. That's what happens on the summer solstice. Sol means sun. Stice is Latin for stop. The sun stops getting higher in the sky today, maxes out over the Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer. And supposedly the longest days, but the Earth is in an oblate spheroid, so the longest day is not always right on June 20 or 21, and it's a day early this year because it's a leap year. So, hope you're enduring this solstice heat wave, record heat for sure. It's only the beginning of summer too. We have a long way to go. Anyhow, I'm going to try and do a fairly quick edit and get on the ferry and come back here, all things willing. All right. Talk to you tomorrow. T-Rex. Different day, same weather. Still windy. How do you spell wind? W-I-N-D. What does it do? It winds from high to low pressure. W-I-N-D-Y. The estuary is alive. It's alive. Did you know that horseshoe crabs can actually dig into the mud and wait out the tide and travel all the way with the tide from Nantucket to Georgia? Yeah, they're pretty tricky. I'll tell you that. This one's... Do you want a little help? He probably doesn't care for any help, but I kind of do care to help it. So horseshoe crab is used, the blood is used to help cure cancer, and it's the only kind of creature that can be harvested and then put back into the wild still alive. That's what happens. Sorry to bother you. Can you move for us? Thank you. So, no doubt they dug in to wait out the tide, incoming tide, so they'll be fine. So I won't disturb these two. I don't know what was going on over here. It's just the beginning of our sea creature adventure. Those minnows that are 2 inches long in September, or 3 inches, they're about a 3/8 of an inch right now. How you doing? How you doing? Appreciation for land bank and the efforts of Nantucketers to keep the open rights of way to the waterways, I think almost around the entire island. So a lot of areas of recreation. I don't know if I've been out to this particular spot yet. Kind of at the very northern reaches of the harbor. Thousands of fiddler crab holes, but every time I see one it runs into its hole, so I haven't gotten any video. That right there is eelgrass. You need eelgrass for scallops to grow. You've heard me talk about that a ton of times. Baby scallops attach themselves to eelgrass. Unfortunately, most of Cape Cod doesn't really have eelgrass anymore, but fortunately, Nantucket does. And if we try hard enough, we can probably find an alive bay scallop. Bigger minnows. See him underneath the water waves. There, he showed his belly there for a second. The pink sand. There they are. What kind of fish are these? The kind that swim. Beautiful geometry of twisting, bending light through air, water, fish. People power. What is that called? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a big kayak with an outrigger. They're coming over to see you, Captain Peacock. Not finding too many alive shellfish, but I found this little periwinkle snail. I think that's alive. And believe it or not, one little neck clam steamer was just actually sitting on the ground, which is really unusual. And there's evidence of scallops and cherry stones, and there are alive mussels. So I found that little seahorse toy, and I used its nose to pull out one of these crabs. I'm not sure if I got the name right, fiddler crab, because I thought the fiddler crabs had like one big claw. Anyhow, he'll find a hole, but not his hole. There's one. Just take any hole. Not my hole, but I'll fit in there. Oh, there's another fiddler crab in there. This is uncomfortable. Horseshoe crabs are not in a hurry. This one's moved like 2 inches, just waiting for the water to come back. And the water's got a long way to go. These two white labs just showed up. They were in a hurry. They were racing at us. And their owner says, wow, the tide is really low. Again, yep. Full moon equals really low tide. Means you can walk way out there. Great for beachcombing. All right, we're going way out there now too.
Take
Has
that.
anyone seen Ben Stiller? Is Ben Stiller around here anywhere?
Who's that?
About the guy that made that movie about that thing. There's the Freedom to Harwich. Last time I was on that boat was to come over for the wedding with my parents. That was 18 years ago, 2 days ago. It's film festival, so all the celebrities are coming in now. Probably not on ferry, but you never know. Who's that guy? Recognize that guy? They don't see him. You gotta go for a swim, you gotta go for a swim. That's serious training right there. Yeah. Wind and current. Relentless. Moving air. There's Emily again. The wind is so strong from the south, yet we're pointed towards the east. How is that possible? It has to do with the currents, with the water coming out of the harbor from that direction, from the north, and the water coming out of that great bay right there from the east. It actually contorts the boat, and the mooring ball is being pulled from out in front of the bow. Really interesting geometry going on here. Get all that?
The international talls, and like at the Boston thing, I call us a small tall.
It's like we were only there for a couple of hours, and it's like sad to leave already, you know? It's called a Trump boat, not after Donald Trump.
Oh, that's Greta Van Susteren.
Sure. Who owns that boat, Janet?
Greta Van Susteren.
Sure, she does.
Sure does. That's the flag. I think, right? Emily's. Is that Greta Van Susteren's boat? What'd you ask? Is that Greta Van Susteren's